Chicago. However, we have a problem on our hands since in this scene, we only ever saw orbital assault carriers piloted by Decepticon protoforms attacking nets. Now you could say that Thundercracker was piloting one of these orbital assault carriers, which can justify why he's credited as partaking in this scene. However, that is impossible because he was way too big to pilot one, and we know this because in the film, orbital assault carriers were piloted by Decepticon protoforms that were roughly 16 feet tall. We know that they were around 16 feet because Bumblebee, who was confirmed to be 16 feet tall, according to this official scale chart, was able to fly one. Now, since Thundercracker is a jet, this would mean that he would tower. This proves that Thundercracker never appeared in Dark of the Moon. So then, why did Hasbro create this figure? And, well, an explanation I see a lot of fans come to is that Hasbro made this figure because Thundercracker was a concept art character for Dark of the Moon. Now, it's impossible to know if Thundercracker was or wasn't conceptualized at one point for Dark of the Moon, since we unfortunately don't have every single piece of concept art from that film to take a look at. However, this explanation is technically plausible, since the design that would become KSI Boss in 2014 was originally conceptualized by concept artist Josh Nizzi in 2009 for a character design tutorial DVD. So with that said, though it is plausible, I don't believe it's the case, because concept art characters wouldn't be introduced into Studio Series until 2024. So then why the heck did Hasbro make this figure in the first place, if Studio Series is supposed to be at its core all about screen accuracy? And well, I believe the answer comes down to the figure being an exclusive. You see, when it came to exclusive Studio Series figures that came out in 2018, Hasbro decided to do something special for each of them. For example, take the Highway Freedom Bumblebee and Charlie multi-pack. In this set, the Bumblebee figure was a redeco of the 01 Deluxe Class Beater B, featuring new customizable parts for his vehicle look to invoke the look of a muscle car. The set also included a Charlie Watson figurine, wearing a shirt with the Bumblebee movie logo. Lastly, the set also included a fat sticker sheet with multiple different decals to customize the figure. Now, though the box advertised this set as being part of the Bumblebee movie, as we know, Bumblebee didn't look anything like this in the film, since he didn't have his Beater B look from the 2007 film, and instead had a brand new robot mode design. Furthermore, in the film, Bumblebee was never upgraded with any of these parts, and Charlie never had the film's logo on her shirt. So as you guys can see, it's totally inaccurate to the movie. So with that said, I believe that Thundercracker falls into the same category. Being an exclusive, he broke the rule of being screen accurate, allowing Hasbro to take creative liberties. This is how I believe we ended up with Dark of the Moon Thundercracker. Do you agree with my assessment, or do you have a different explanation as to why this figure was made? Feel free to let me know in the comments below.
Surprisingly, he's never a concept, nor was he in the movie, because surprisingly, he's meant to be Toys R Us exclusive. Surprisingly, he's actually supposedly inspired by the Thundercracker from the Dark of the Moon MechTech toy line. That was a repaint of the Starscream. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this is the figure that the Thundercracker Studio Series was inspired by. So basically, I don't have the Thundercracker figure, but I do have the figure that was actually originally retold from, which is Nitro Zeus, aka I call him by Cyclone sometimes, but surprisingly, I didn't know that the Thundercracker here, but he became more expensive nowadays. Since I wanted to do this video about this because now that Toys R Us is coming back, I thought of doing this video about this. So surprisingly, the people have been flipping the things in the back like this. I don't like that at all. But yeah, surprisingly, I will get the Thundercracker figure because this is not supposedly a concept. This is basically based on the toys that you've seen before as they reimagined, basically. It's basically reimagining the Dark of the Moon MechTech Dark Thundercracker, but in a new version.